Hello, and welcome to Podcast for English. My name is Linda. I'm really happy you're here today. This channel is for people who want to learn English in a simple and natural way. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to speak fast. You don't need to understand every word. You only need to listen. You can listen while you rest. You can listen while you work. You can listen while you live your daily life. Take a deep breath, relax your body, clear your mind. Now, let's begin today's English lesson together. In today's podcast, we are talking about something very important. Something many learners forget. Today's topic is this: trust the process when learning English. Many people learn English and feel worried. They ask, "Am I improving? Why is this so slow? Why do I still make mistakes?" These questions create doubt. Doubt creates pressure. Pressure makes learning harder. This episode is about understanding how learning really works. Not fast, not perfect, but real. Learning English is not a straight line. Some days you feel better. Some days you feel stuck. This is normal. It does not mean you are failing. It means the process is working. In this podcast, we will talk about why progress feels invisible, why slow growth is real growth, and how trusting the process can change how you feel about learning English. You do not need to rush. You do not need to compare yourself. You only need to continue. Trusting the process does not mean doing nothing. It means staying calm while moving forward. If you feel tired, if you feel unsure, if you feel impatient, this episode is for you. Let us slow down. Let us look at learning in a gentler way. Because when you trust the process, English becomes lighter and learning becomes possible. Real progress often feels invisible. This is one of the hardest parts of learning English. You listen every day. You practice often. You try your best. But you ask, why do I still feel the same? This feeling is very common. Real learning does not show results every day. The brain changes quietly. It builds connections in the background. You do not feel this work, but it is happening. Progress is not always something you notice. It is something that appears later. Often, you only see progress when you look back. You understand something without effort. You recognize words faster. You react more quickly. These moments feel small, but they are signs. Another reason progress feels invisible is expectation. You expect big changes, but learning happens in layers, layer by layer. Each day adds a thin layer. One layer is hard to see, but many layers create strength. Learning English is like this. Another reason is comparison. You compare yourself to others. You see their result. You do not see their process. Comparison hides your own progress. It makes growth feel smaller. The brain also adapts quickly. What felt difficult starts to feel normal. When something feels normal, you stop noticing it. But this normal feeling is progress. If English feels less scary, that is progress. If listening feels easier, that is progress. If you stay calm longer, that is progress. Progress is not always speed. Sometimes progress is stability, staying connected, not quitting. This is important. Invisible progress is still progress. Trusting the process means trusting this invisible work, even when you cannot see it, because one day it becomes visible, suddenly, and you realize it was building all along. The brain learns English slowly. This is normal. The brain does not rush. It connects things step by step. Sound, meaning, context. These connections need time. When you hear English, the brain does not understand everything. At first, it only hears sound. Then it starts to recognize patterns, common words, common phrases, common rhythm. This recognition comes before understanding. Understanding comes before speaking. This order is natural. The brain learns through repetition, not through pressure. Each time you hear English, the brain notices something. Maybe a word, maybe a sound, maybe a feeling. These small notices add up. Slowly. The brain also needs rest. Learning does not happen only when you study. It happens after. When you sleep, when you relax, when you stop thinking about English. During rest, the brain organizes information. It strengthens connections. This is why sometimes you feel better after a break. Nothing new was added, but the brain finished its work. The brain also learns by feeling safe. When you are calm, learning goes deeper. When you are stressed, learning stays shallow. Trusting the process means allowing this slow work. You do not force speed, you allow time. Another important point is patience. The brain does not like being pushed. When pushed, it resists. When allowed, it opens. Opening creates learning. If progress feels slow, it does not mean the brain stopped. It means the brain is building quietly, in its own way. Learning English is not about control, it is about cooperation with the brain. When you work with how the brain learns, English grows naturally, slowly, but strongly. Rushing feels tempting. You want results, you want proof, you want change. So you push, you study more, you add more, you expect faster progress. But rushing often creates frustration. Frustration comes from expectation. You expect quick improvement. When it does not happen, you feel disappointed. Disappointment turns into doubt. Doubt turns into pressure. Pressure blocks learning. When you rush, your attention changes. You stop enjoying the process. You start measuring everything. How many words? How fast am I speaking? Why am I still slow? This constant checking creates stress. Stress tells the brain, this is not safe. A brain that feels unsafe does not learn well. Rushing also reduces patience. You do not allow time for repetition. You jump from one thing to another. The brain cannot build strong connections. Connections need time. Rushing creates shallow learning. You touch many things, but nothing stays. Another problem with rushing is comparison. When you rush, you compare more. You look at others. You feel behind. This comparison lowers confidence. Low confidence slows progress. Rushing also removes rest. You feel guilty when you rest, but rest is part of learning. Without rest, the brain cannot organize. Learning feels heavier, progress feels slower. Rushing creates a false idea that learning is a race, but language is not a race. It is a relationship. A relationship needs time. Trusting the process means slowing down, not stopping, just slowing. When you slow down, the brain relaxes. When the brain relaxes, learning deepens. Deep learning lasts longer. Rushing feels active, but slowing down is more effective. This is why letting go of speed often brings progress back. Quietly, naturally, without force. When learning English, consistency matters more than intensity. Even though many people believe the opposite, many learners think they must study very hard to make progress. They believe longer study time will bring faster results. They believe pushing themselves every day is the only way to improve. At the beginning, this feels motivating. You feel serious. You feel determined. But intense learning uses a lot of energy, and energy is not unlimited. After some time, tiredness appears. Stress appears. And slowly, motivation begins to disappear. When learning feels heavy, people stop. They stop not because they do not care. They stop because they cannot continue at that speed. They feel pressure, and pressure makes English feel harder than it needs to be. Consistency works in a calmer and more sustainable way. Consistency does not ask you to do a lot. Consistency asks you to do a little and to repeat it regularly. This repetition does not feel stressful. It fits into daily life. Because it fits, you keep going. 5 minutes of listening every day may not feel impressive, but it keeps English present in your life. A short moment of exposure is enough to remind the brain that English still exists. This presence is more important than long study sessions that happen only sometimes. The brain learns through repeated contact. It does not need pressure to learn, and it does not need fear to improve. The brain needs familiarity. When English appears often, even in small amounts, the brain slowly becomes comfortable with it. Comfort creates confidence, and confidence makes learning easier. Consistency also removes guilt. When learning is intense, missing one day feels like failure. But with consistency, missing a day is not a problem. You simply return the next day. There is no need to catch up. There is no need to punish yourself. This gentle approach keeps motivation alive. Consistency also adapts to real life. On busy days, you do very little. On calm days, you may do a bit more, but the connection does not disappear. This connection is what keeps learning moving forward, even when progress feels slow. Intensity often creates pressure, and pressure creates fear. Fear blocks learning. Consistency reduces pressure. There is no rush. There is no deadline. There is only continuation. Trusting the process means understanding that real progress is built quietly. Small actions repeated over time create strong habits. These habits carry learning forward, even when motivation is low. This kind of progress may not feel exciting, but it is real, and progress that lasts is built this way. Small daily actions may look simple, but they create big change over time. Many learners believe change must feel big to be real. They think progress must be obvious and fast. When they do something small, they feel it is not enough. But the brain does not work this way. The brain learns through repetition, not intensity. It changes slowly, through regular contact. Small actions are powerful because they repeat easily. You do not need to prepare. You do not need to wait for motivation. You simply do something small and move on with your day. Listening for a few minutes every day keeps English alive in your mind. Hearing the same voice again and again builds familiarity. Familiarity tells the brain that English is safe. When something feels safe, the brain opens. When the brain opens, learning happens naturally. This is how small actions work quietly in the background. Small daily actions also reduce resistance. They do not feel heavy. They do not feel demanding. Because they feel easy, you do not avoid them. Avoidance is what stops progress. Small actions avoid avoidance. They fit into real life, even on busy or tired days. Another important part is time. One small action today may not feel meaningful, but many small actions over weeks and months change how English feels. English starts to feel familiar. Listening starts to feel easier. You understand more without trying so hard. These changes do not arrive suddenly. They appear slowly. Often you notice them only when you look back. Small actions also build trust. You trust yourself to continue. You stop doubting the process. This trust reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety improves learning. Calm learning lasts longer than stressful learning. Big changes do not come from one strong effort. They come from many gentle moments that add up. Each small action is a signal to the brain that learning is still happening. Even on days when you feel tired or unsure, small actions protect the habit. They keep the connection alive. They prevent long breaks that make returning difficult. Trusting the process means respecting small steps. It means understanding that growth does not need to be dramatic. Quiet progress is still progress. Over time, small daily actions create a strong foundation, and a strong foundation supports real, lasting improvement in English. Trusting the process changes how learning feels inside your body and mind. When you do not trust the process, you feel tense. You worry about results. You question your progress. This tension creates stress. Stress makes learning harder. It tightens the body. It narrows attention. It makes English feel heavy. When you trust the process, stress begins to reduce. You stop checking every small detail. You stop asking yourself if you are doing enough. You allow learning to happen. This calm creates space. Space allows the brain to work better. A calm brain learns more easily than a stressed one. Trusting the process also changes your relationship with mistakes. Mistakes stop feeling dangerous. They start feeling normal. Normal mistakes do not create fear. When fear reduces, confidence grows. Confidence does not come from perfection. It comes from repeated safe experiences. Each time you use English and nothing bad happens, confidence grows quietly. You may not notice it at first, but it is building. Trust also reduces self-judgment. You stop comparing yourself to others. You focus more on your own path. This focus protects motivation. Motivation stays alive when you feel safe. Safety allows you to continue. Trusting the process also helps during slow periods. Some days feel flat, some days feel unproductive. When you trust the process, these days do not scare you. You understand that slow days are part of learning. You do not panic. You do not quit. Confidence grows from consistency, not speed. It grows when you show up again and again, even when you feel unsure. Over time, trusting the process builds inner stability. You feel calmer when using English. You feel less pressure to perform. This calm confidence makes English easier to use. You listen with less fear. You speak with less hesitation. Trusting the process does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop hurting yourself with pressure. It means you choose patience over panic. And patience is one of the strongest tools in learning English. Trusting the process allows English to grow in a natural and steady way. When you stop rushing, learning becomes lighter. You no longer feel the need to control every step. You allow English to develop at its own pace. This change is important because language does not grow under pressure. It grows in calm and familiar conditions. When English appears regularly in your life, the brain adapts. It becomes used to the sound. It becomes used to the rhythm. It becomes used to meaning. This adaptation does not feel dramatic. It feels normal, and normal is the goal. Over time, English stops feeling like a task. It starts to feel like part of your day. You listen without effort. You understand without panic. Trusting the process also helps you stay patient during slow periods. You no longer expect fast results. You expect steady connection. This steady connection keeps learning alive, even when motivation is low. Even when progress is not obvious. Another important change is emotional. You stop feeling anxious when using English. You stop worrying about being perfect. This emotional calm allows language to move more freely. Words come with less resistance. Listening feels less stressful. You may still make mistakes. You may still feel unsure sometimes, but these moments no longer stop you. They become part of the journey, not signs of failure. When you trust the process, you also trust yourself. You trust that showing up is enough. You trust that learning is happening, even when you cannot see it. This trust keeps you moving forward, quietly, consistently, without pressure. Over months and years, this approach creates real ability. English becomes more familiar. English becomes more comfortable, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it to grow. Trusting the process is not giving up control. It is choosing a better kind of control. Control that supports learning instead of fighting it. And when learning feels supported, English grows naturally over time. You've reached the end of today's episode. Before you leave, I want you to remember one simple thing. You did something good for yourself today. You listened. You stayed. You didn't give up. And that matters. Learning English is not about being fast. It is not about being perfect. It is about showing up again and again. Some days will feel easy. Some days will feel hard. Both are normal. Progress does not always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels quiet. Sometimes you don't notice it at all. But learning is still happening. Every minute you listen, your ears are learning new sounds. Your mind is learning new patterns. Your confidence is growing, even if you cannot see it yet. You don't need to push yourself. You don't need to compare yourself to others. You are on your own path, and your pace is enough. Let English be part of your daily life. Listen while you rest. Listen while you work. Listen while you live your normal day. If this episode helped you feel calmer, more focused, or more motivated, then your time here was well spent. Come back when you can. Come back when you need a quiet space to learn. My name is Linda, and this is Podcast for English. Thank you for learning with me. Until next time, keep going and never give up. Believe in yourself, because you are stronger than you think.